All right, what you need in the building? How's everybody going today? First and foremost, we give praise to the Most High. The Most High comes first in all things. The Most High comes first. So we want to give all praise and glory to the Most High. I want to drop down first of all something before I get into the details of boxing, and that is that a thief is a murderer. A thief is a murderer. This will take 1 minute. If you are taking something you did not earn from somebody else without asking them, that means you stole it from them. Whether it's an idea which they're implementing, whether it's their leadership position, whether it is some possession they have, then it means that you go to the extent and as far as killing them to take that. And that's why I said a thief is a murderer, because in order to steal something from someone, it means you are not getting their express permission and their agreement to take it. Whether it is you've promised somebody that you will pay them back for something you've taken from them, you don't pay them back. It means pushed further, you would kill them to make sure you don't have to pay them back. Take what I'm saying very seriously. Take what I'm saying very seriously. A man who will take another man's possessions, which another man has earned, he'll take it and never give that man his just due. Never ask that man's permission. Is just as good as a man who kills another man to take his life from him. Remember what I said. It's very serious words. Let's get into it. We're talking boxing today. My channel's What You Need. If you don't know about What You Need, well, check me out, see what's up with What You Need, and see if it's a channel that you like. If you vibe it, don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to share. All right? Now, if you want to sponsor my channel by donating to it, hold on 1 second. We got somebody passing in the road. I'm doing this in a room. It's not a studio, okay? Yeah. So if you would like to donate to What You Need, you do it via PayPal. The link is in the chat section. It's also in the description of this video. If you want to join on here, chop it up with me as a guest, you have to be respectful. Excuse me. But in addition to that, you can do it. Face-to-face is always good. What You Need loves to see guests on this program. If you want to chop it up with him, it usually is another level because I have guests on the program. So feel free to do so. I'm not necessarily somebody who enjoys hearing his own voice. By the way, I do have acid reflux, so sometimes I choke on my own saliva, which is crazy. But it is what it is. So if that ever happens in this stream, you know it's just acid reflux. It's nothing else. Okay, let's get into it. So we have this weekend of upcoming fights, and we're going to do some predictions. All right, we're going to do some predictions for the upcoming fights. The fights I will be talking about are Erislandy Lara versus Michael Zerafa. I'll be also talking about Isaac Cruz, aka Pitbull, versus Rolando Romero, also known as Raleigh. And I'll also be talking about Tszyu versus Tszyu-Fundora. Now, there's one more fight I put on the topic here, which is Bohachuk versus Mendoza. All right, Brandon Mendoza versus Tszyu Bohachuk. I misspelled Bohachuk, by the way. I bet it's Bohachuk. It's Bohachuk. Anyway, the point is that fight I also will try to do a prediction on, even though it's not listed here. Okay. If you guys have anything else boxing you would like to talk to me about, feel free to also talk to me about it, because What You Need likes to have discussions on current events in boxing as well. Let's get into it, therefore. I'm going to leave the main event for last. So, Erislandy Lara versus Michael Zerafa. Well, the question is, Erislandy Lara hasn't fought in a good minute. So, the question that would be presented to us is Erislandy Lara the same Erislandy Lara? He's about 40 years old now. Michael Zerafa is much younger. has quite a lot of experience. And I'm going to show you Michael Zerafa's resume, who Michael Zerafa has faced, so that you can get a good picture as to how this fight might take place and what kind of likely outcome it is. Because some people are thinking that's a light touch for Erislandy Lara, but Michael Zerafa is not necessarily a light touch for anyone. All right, let's get into it. So, Erislandy Lara has a lot of experience, Cuban style of boxing. You know, sits down, fights in the pocket sometimes. He can also move around. He's very versatile. And his latest opponent is going to be Michael Zerafa. Now, the question is, who is Michael Zerafa? First of all, let me tell you who Erislandy Lara is so we can get a picture of him, and then we can move on there for Michael Zerafa. So, the last fight Mike Erislandy Lara had, excuse me, was against Gary O'Sullivan. This was in the 160-pound division. And he stopped Gary O'Sullivan in the 8th round. And this was 2 years ago. So Erislandy Lara has not been busy since then. He fought a number of other low-tier opponents. He fought Saul Canelo Alvarez's brother, Ramon Alvarez, back in 2019. He fought the former WBO champion, Brian Castano, when he was undefeated. He also had a fight against Jarrett Hurd, in which Jarrett Hurd beat him by split decision. He also faced Terrell Goucher, or Goucha, and he got a win over Goucher. He also fought Yuri Foreman, who was a former world champion, Vanes Martirosyan, Jan Zabek. Actually, he had a rematch with Vanes Martirosyan. He fought Vanes Martirosyan before. He gave him a tough fight. Also fought Ishe Smith, Canelo Alvarez, Austin Trout, Alfredo Angulo, Vanes Martirosyan a second time, Paul Williams, Carlos Molina. I thought he got a gift decision against Molina. Molina, I thought, whooped his ass. And he also fought Darnell Boone. So what I'm saying is this guy has fought the who's who in the top 154-pound division. Now he's at the 160-pound division, the champion, WBA champion there. So he's fought Carlos Molina, Paul Williams, the who's who of the 154 division, Austin Trout, Canelo Alvarez, Ishe Smith, Jan Zabek, who was a former world champion as well, Yuri Foreman, and Jarrett Hurd, as well as Brian Castano. All of these guys having been world champions. Okay, so when we talk about Erislandy Lara, and beat quite a lot of them, we're really talking about a guy with extensive elite championship experience. Okay, the guy he's going up against is Michael Zerafa, who has always been a competent Australian boxer who never really got the shine he really justly deserved. And Michael Zerafa's also had his fair share of top-tier opponents. He fought Kell Brook back in, let me see, where is it? When did he fight Kell Brook? 2019? Fought Kell Brook in 2018. Okay? Somehow he lost to Kell Brook in a 12-round decision. They did fight at a catchweight, so that could be the reason why he didn't do so well. Zerafa has been campaigning at 160 and 154. Beat Jeff Horn. He knocked out Jeff Horn. They had a rematch. Jeff Horn won by majority decision, but he did beat Jeff Horn. He's also, let me see, Zerafa has fought some pretty good names like Peter Quillen, Arif Magomedov. Let's see who else is what. I've seen him around, you know, of course, those were at highway classes where he got stopped. He also fought Jeff Horn at 160. He also faced Anthony Mondine, and he knocked him out in the first round. His last fight was also in 2022. It was in Sydney, Australia. So he and Erislandy Lara have about the same experience when it comes to fighting, and the same long duration of rest. So Michael Zerafa is going to be facing Erislandy Lara. I think there's a complete difference in skill set and also in age. because Michael Tzerafa is only 32 years of age, whereas Arslan Lara is 40 years of age. So will age catch up with Arslan Lara? Now, the style that Arslan Lara has is one that will allow him to have a certain duration of, a certain duration of his career. So because Arslan Lara kind of fights in a certain defensive style, he hasn't really been hit a whole lot in his career. So he might be able to do quite well against Michael Tzerafa for this coming fight. So we'll have to see what will happen. But yeah, in this fight, who do I favor and where does my prediction go? I still go with the old veteran of the sport, Arslan Lara. He has a lot of tricks up his sleeve. I think Michael Tzerafa is a very good fighter. I do think so. I think he's only been stopped once in his career against Peter Quillen. Is that correct? Am I right? Let me see. Put him. Let's see here. I think, yes, he's only been stopped once in his career, and that was with Peter Quillen at 160. I think that was the first time he visited 160. He's had some losses, 3 losses, but he's a good fighter nonetheless. Never faced the kind of quality of opposition Arslan Lara has faced. I mean, the best fighter in Arslan Lara's resume is Canelo Alvarez. And so it's a different level of competition. I think Arslan Lara is much more tested and so on. But seeing that both of them had about the same time away from the ring, Tzerafa is much younger. He's 8 years younger than Arslan Lara. I still think Arslan Lara is going to school him. I think Arslan Lara is going to beat him because he has the fundamentals of boxing, Cuban style of boxing, all of that. So I think Arslan Lara will beat Michael Tzerafa, and I predict that Arslan Lara will beat Michael Tzerafa by decision because Michael Tzerafa is tough. He's strong. Jeff Horner has beaten him, and several other fighters have beaten him. So I do see Arslan Lara beating him. Now, some people take this as a tune-up fight for maybe the Danny Garcia fight, which is what Danny Garcia would like to have against Arslan Lara. What I'll tell you is, I'll tell you this. Hold on a second. I believe I'm going into the WBA rankings here. To see if Michael Tzerafa is probably Arslan Lara's mandatory, which is why he's facing him. So we're looking at middleweight right now, which is the middleweight division. Now, the thing is that Arslan Lara right now is the WBA champion. Jamal Charlo, I don't know if he has relinquished his WBC championship belt yet. Johnny Beck, Alem Kulani, he's the WBO champion. The IBF champion is, Zanny Beck is the IBF and WBO champion right now at, so this is the WBA. I don't know if you can see this because it's kind of like wacky right now. Hold on a second. Should be able to see it without the light doing that too. Oh, it's just reflecting very horribly down there. There you go. So I don't know how clearly you can see this. There you go. It's much clearer now. So I'm going to go to, this is the middleweight division. Charlo is the WBC champion. I don't know how he's still WBC champion. Zanny Beck is the IBF and WBO champions. Okay. So you would think Lara would face like Zanny Beck or somebody. But the number one contender anyway there, if you look very carefully, and probably that's why it's mandatory, and that's why he has to face him before he can face Danny Garcia, because he wants to. Danny Garcia wants to fight with him. He wants to fight with Danny Garcia. What the hell am I doing? All right, there you go. I don't know if you can see Michael Tzerafa's name right here. And there's Elijah Garcia and Austin Williams, blah, blah, blah. But Michael Tzerafa is the number one contender for him, which means he is his mandatory, and this is why he's fighting Michael Tzerafa instead of Danny Garcia. Because I remember it was rumored that Erislandy Lara will be facing Danny Garcia, but that's not happening. And the reason that's not happening is because Danny Garcia. Hold on a second here. Why is that? It's because Danny Garcia. He's he's not the mandatory. You understand? He fought at 154, but he's not the mandatory for the WBA title that Erislandy Lara has. It probably, if he was a world champion at 154, he could then, a WBA world champion, he could just immediately jump over Michael Zerafa. So I think because Erislandy Lara has been champion, but he hasn't fought in 2 years, the mandatory, which is Michael Zerafa, he has to face him first. Okay, so that's why this fight is happening. All right, so in terms of Zerafa, in terms of Erislandy Lara, I got Erislandy Lara winning that fight. I think he has better competition. I think better fighters than Zerafa has beaten him. I think fighters with Erislandy Lara's style have beaten Michael Zerafa. And so I think Michael Zerafa is going to lose to Erislandy Lara. I think it's going to be a decision win. I don't think he's going to stop Michael Zerafa. Zerafa's not being stopped by anybody except for Peter Quillin. Peter Quillin was way bigger than Michael Zerafa in that fight. And Peter Quillin got him out of there, I think, in 5 or 6 rounds. Zerafa was tough, but it's just Quillin was just too big. Let's talk about the other fight, which is Rolando Romero versus Isaac Cruz. That is Raleigh versus Pitbull. This is a good fight. Now, some people are saying it's a 50-50 fight, but here's my arguments for this fight being the winner that I'm going to pick. And my prediction is going to be based on some facts. The first fact is Raleigh Romero only went 6 rounds with Tank. Isaac Cruz went the entire distance. Tank, was pot-shotting, counter-punching, trying to run Pitbull into shots. But Pitbull, because he's so technically sound and he's so tight in his defense, Pitbull's coming to close the distance on you. And if you're not an exceptionally good inside fighter, you're going to have to fight Pitbull on the inside. Pitbull brings to the table a lot of factors. He's coming to get you, but that doesn't mean anything. Raleigh's hoping and praying that he can counter Pitbull as Pitbull closes the distance to come at him. You look at Pitbull, Pitbull ain't got no neck. That should tell you everything you need to know. This guy exercises his neck like crazy. Pitbull is notoriously difficult to knock out. Nobody has ever knocked out Pitbull. And Pitbull has one style, like everybody says. He coming to get you. He coming to get you. He's coming to get you. But that doesn't mean because he's coming to get you that he's wild and reckless and that he doesn't have defense. And that's the point that a lot of people are missing. Pitbull has very good defense, even though he's coming to get you. He keeps his guard very tight to his chin. He protects his head a lot. As we all know, Tank damaged his hand on Pitbull's head. He got a hard head, like most Mexican fighters. To break down Pitbull, you have to go to his body. What Raleigh Romero doesn't understand is you can have how much power you want if you don't set up your shots, that is, set up those body shots on Pitbull, which is he's notoriously difficult to hit to the body because Pitbull is kind of coming in head first, right? And the thing with Pitbull is this. There's a couple very difficult things about Pitbull. One, he's short. 2, besides being short, he throws the overhands and he throws punches coming inside. So he can dip low and then come back up and dig to the body. So he can have his body attack. Whereas you're the longer, taller fighter, you have to evade body attack by actually clearly clearing the distance and getting on the way of Pitbull. Now, the thing about Pitbull Cruz is Raleigh Romero a better, more skilled fighter than Tank Davis? Does he bring those kinds of tools to the table that Pitbull has to be worried about? That's what you got to ask yourself. Okay, you got to ask yourself, what does Raleigh bring to the table that Pitbull hasn't seen before? Okay, that's a huge question. Huge question. Okay, Pitbull has had 28 fights. He's knocked out 17 of those 28 opponents. Mind you, Giovanni Cabrera Giovanni Cabrera was 5'9" with a 71-inch reach. Okay. He fought Pitbull Cruz, and he clinched like a mother. He didn't want Pitbull working on the inside because Pitbull would destroy him on the inside, right? But everybody's looking at the Giovanni Cabrera fight when Pitbull Cruz fought him, forgetting two very important pieces of information. Pitbull hadn't fought in almost a year when he fought Giovanni Cabrera. Okay, Pitbull will be fighting. He will be fighting this year, the end of this month, which is the 3rd. That means that Pitbull is actually going to be fighting 6 months later, half the time that he fought the last time. So he's getting to prepare much better. He was a bit sloppy. He was a bit sluggish against Giovanni Cabrera. But Giovanni Cabrera was clinching like a mother. Okay. Now, in addition to that, Pitbull did hurt Giovanni Cabrera. Well, he didn't hurt him, but he hit him with some hard shots and stunned him a bit in that fight. Now, people are saying Pitbull Cruz, he don't really have one hit or quitter power. But the thing is, if he keeps on hitting you flush all the time, he's going to whittle you down. The thing with Pitbull Cruz, his major weapon is his body punching. So watch out for his body punching. He'll throw looping shots to the head and stuff, but it's really his work on the inside. He's a good, very good, solid inside fighter. All right. Now, there are several other things people need to realize because the Giovanni Cabrera fight, Pitbull Cruz hadn't fought in a year. This is a guy who has to stay active, has to keep on fighting more regularly. So this fight is actually a little bit more regular, 6 months later. So that will help him to build off of his last performance that he had. Of course, Pitbull's looking for bigger fights, so this is why he's not fighting as regularly. But the other thing that people are forgetting about Pitbull, people talking about his hunger and all of that, but I'm just talking technically speaking. Pitbull Cruz is a nightmare for almost any fighter out there. And I see Rolly Romero trying to practice, those uppercuts and left hooks, to be able to land those uppercuts on Pitbull Cruz, you have to have space. He don't. Once he gets close to you, he's not going to give you that space. Okay, he's not going to give you that space. So Rolly Romero has to try and keep Pitbull at the end of his stick, keep his jab going. The other thing is, yes, he fought an orthodox fighter in Giovanni Cabrera. Pitbull been in the ring with tougher fighters. Tank is a southpaw. So Pitbull being in the ring with a southpaw, which is much more difficult style, gave that southpaw fits. We all know he landed some serious punches on Giovanni Cabrera, and that's why he won the fight, especially coming down the stretch. Pitbull took over the fight. He got his rhythm, and he really started to work Giovanni Cabrera and was beating him up. Cabrera did take some punches, but I thought Pitbull's timing was slightly off as well, which is why he didn't really connect like he really wanted to connect against Giovanni Cabrera. This time around, it's a shorter time. Rolly's not as good a fighter as Giovanni Cabrera to start with. He's not a boxer. Rolly's trying to convert himself into a boxer, and that's just not going to work for you. But he's trying, and he's going to try to box Pitbull Cruz, and he's going to throw away. He's going to throw away a lot of his skill sets and stuff because the other thing with Rolly is he shoots one shot at a time, 2 shots at a time, that kind of thing. So Rolly, yeah, he punches really hard, sure, but Pitbull will be up to the task. A lot of people thinking, even Leonard Ellaby talking about Rolly knocking out Pitbull Cruz. I don't see that happening. I see Pitbull railroading Rolly Romero, railroading him. He's not going to slow down Pitbull. He's not going to stop Pitbull. None of that. Pitbull got defense. Pitbull's a very aggressive fighter, and he's going to be the same Pitbull that you've seen before. Nothing's going to change in this fight. Rolly doesn't have, I think, the punch output to go toe-to-toe with Pitbull. I think activity-wise, Pitbull's going to just be, if Pitbull runs away with this, he's going to stop Rolly. He's going to stop him. And Rolly's in incredible shape and everything, but that don't mean nothing. I'm telling you, it don't mean nothing. You know what I mean? Pitbull's not a joke, y'all. Now, I hear some people saying Rolly don't have a chin. I don't know about that one. Tank caught him with a shot that would have knocked out anybody, okay? Because he caught him flush. He caught him as Rolly was leading with his chin coming in, which is another thing. Rolly still don't protect his chin very well. His chin be sticking out there. I see him trying to block with defense and stuff, but his chin be sticking out there. You can't have your chin sticking out with Pitbull. He will level you. Okay, he gonna work. He gonna soften up Raleigh's body. Raleigh better work really hard on his body because people are coming for him. He gonna jab to the pit. He gonna work that body. He gonna get underneath a lot of shots that Raleigh's throwing because Raleigh's way taller. He's way longer. But again, Raleigh's gonna have to cling for his dear life. He's gonna be clinching and clinging and trying to stay, away. And he's gonna try and box from a distance. He's still gonna get dropped. Barroso dropped Raleigh. Pitbull is 10 times more aggressive than Barroso. Ain't gonna tire. Gonna keep it going for 12 rounds if you got to go 12 rounds. Now, I do believe if this fight goes 12 rounds, they're gonna rob Pitbull and they're gonna give Raleigh. Because Raleigh got to stay world champion. But if Pitbull gets Raleigh out of there, drops him maybe 2 or 3 times, they're gonna have to give it to Pitbull. Right? So that's how I see the fight going. People saying that Pitbull can't punch. He don't punch very hard. Go ahead and think that. Go ahead and think that. Just know, though, if you get dropped, Raleigh, by Pitbull, that's on you. If you thought that he couldn't punch. You know what I mean? That's an assumption by Leonard Ellaby. And that's not a good way to go. Assuming that fighter can't punch. Regis Prograis said that about Devin Haney. Then he got dropped by Devin Haney. Okay, and Regis Prograis has a hell of a chin. He's not chinny at all. Okay, so my prediction for that fight is Pitbull Cruz, either by stoppage or multiple knockdowns of Rolly Romero. A lot of y'all going to be shocked that Pitbull Cruz could do that, but I do think Pitbull Cruz has the style that's going to give Rolly Romero fits. Okay, he didn't show it up for Giovanni Cabrera, Giovanni Cabrera can't punch for squat, but definitely will show up, and you will see that in effect for Rolly Romero. Pitbull was now warming up. He kind of warmed up during the mid quarter of the fight, and he really came on strong in the second half of the fight. That's not going to happen in this case. I think Pitbull's going to come out from the opening bell firing because there's a title at stake here. There's a lot at stake. The stakes are high. This is Pitbull's chance to become a world champion, and he's going to show up, and he's going to show out in this fight. And we already could see that, and he's going to punish Rolly Romero, and we could see a late stoppage where Pitbull stops Rolly Romero. Some people are talking about early rounds. I really don't see it earlyly happening. I think Pitbull's going to have to accumulate punishment on Rolly Romero and beat him up, soften him up. Rolly going to be looking for that one shot, or trying to counter Pitbull. It's never going to come, and Pitbull is going to stop him. Maybe late, But if this goes decision, though, but I do see Pitbull dropping Rolly Romero. I see Rolly Romero getting dropped. He's been dropped now in 2 fights before. He's been dropped by the old guy. He's been dropped by Tank. And I do think he's going to get dropped again in this fight. So we're looking forward to it. Pitbull Cruz versus Rolly Romero. My prediction, Pitbull Cruz, multiple knockdowns or a stoppage late in the fight. Now, for the main event, Tszyu versus Tszyu-Fundora. I want to say this, and I'm going to say absolutely. People are talking about Tszyu versus Thurman would have been an easier fight than Tszyu versus Fundora. I don't know about that. Fundora has very little defense. His offense is his defense. And so just like how Canelo, I believe and I predict, will stop what's his name? Canelo will stop Jaime Munguia. Absolutely see Tszyu stopping Fundora, and pretty early. It depends on how tough Fundora is, but Fundora is going to get stopped in explosive, sensational style by Tszyu, and then Tszyu is probably going to call out Terrence Crawford after that. So the main event actually is anticlimactic compared to what Romero and Cruz fight will be. The Lara versus Zerafa fight is also another sleeper, but I think the Lara versus Zerafa fight, which, by the way, every single fight that I just spoke about here on this card so far is a championship fight. So we have Lara versus Zerafa for the WBA championship. We have Romero versus Cruz for the WBA championship as well. And then we have Tszyu versus Fundora for the WBC and WBO championships, a sort of a unification fight where the stakes are higher. Fundora's going to put on he's going to be trying, he's going to, I see Fundora, putting up a pretty decent fight for a couple of rounds, taking some shots. But then, if Tszyu keeps on working that body and comes over the top, it'll be all she wrote. And I can see Tszyu setting up Fundora. Yes, Fundora is a little awkward. Yes, he's southpaw, so it's different kind of angles. But I still see Tszyu getting used to that. And I said, I'm telling you, the tree's going to be chopped down. Tszyu's going to chop down Fundora. This fight, unlike the Romero versus Cruz fight, I think it's going to go. I think Tszyu might get him out of there at the half or just before the half. I think Tszyu's going to have him knocked out. But if Fundora can go to the second half, well, kudos to Fundora. That showed he had a lot of heart, and But I do see Tszyu knocking out Fundora again. All right, now the other fight that we're supposed to talk about is Serhiy Bohachuk versus Brandon Mendoza. That actually is a very interesting fight in which I'm not sure who will actually come out on top. I haven't really done my homework on these fighters, so I can't necessarily tell you who exactly would win that fight. But that is a fight that Mendoza has shocked people before. I think Bohachuk has to be careful when he's throwing, not to get set up by. He has to be a thinking fighter. So he has not to get set up by Mendoza. Mendoza tends to sucker you into, getting some confidence, throwing certain punches so he can time you and then he can knock you out. I'm not too familiar, though, with Mendoza to be able to tell you exactly the prediction for that fight. So however that fight runs, it runs. But I would not be surprised if Mendoza somehow knocks out Bohachuk, who's undefeated. So that he could pull the upset, But I'm not going to make a direct prediction on that fight. I'm going to let that fight happen. And I'll say this. I'll say that because I'm not very familiar with those two fighters. I'll say that Bohachuk, if it goes to decision, I think they're going to give it to the Bohachuk because that's what PBC's pushing. But if by any chance, Mendoza knocks down Bohachuk, he'll have to knock him down at least multiple times, I think. If he knocks down Bohachuk multiple times or he stops him, well, then he'll get the fight. But he has to actually do something exceptional. He can't just be boxing Bohachuk. Bohachuk's activities is incredible. And on top of that, Bohachuk's strong. And on top of that, he's been knocking out everybody he's been in his path. So if Mendoza gets the knockout on Bohachuk, or he drops him a couple times and Bohachuk doesn't drop him, he definitely not going to get the fight. But otherwise, they're going with Bohachuk. Regardless, if it's a decision fight and it's anywhere near close or it's competitive, Bohachuk's going to get the decision. So that's how I look at it. But I can't really say, I can't make a definitive prediction on that one. I can give you a definitive prediction on Cruz with Romero. I believe Cruz is going to stop Romero late, but he's going to work the body. I think with Lara-Zerafa, I think Lara's going to win by points. I think that Tszyu versus Fundora, I think Tszyu is going to knock out Fundora. He's going to stop him, but he's going to stop him somewhere within 6 or at the 6th round. So I give Fundora about 6 rounds. It's going to be an exciting fight. Lots of activity, a lot of action. But I think Fundora is going to get stopped either before 6 or at the 6th round. Either they're going to wave the towel or they're not going to send out Fundora to fight anymore, something like that. Because Fundora has been knocked down by Erickson Lubin. But he's a very fit fighter, and so that's my predictions for all those fights this coming weekend. Also, there is an upcoming fight on Friday. Happy Easter to everybody in advance. This coming Friday, also there'll be another fight on the cards. So that's what I got for you. I am what you need. I hope you guys enjoyed this channel. Unfortunately, I was looking forward to some of you guys coming through here, leaving some comments, as well as um, probably joining in as a guest, but nobody really did that. So we'll just wait till the next time I stream for you guys to do that. But those are the predictions for the fight. For those of you who haven't seen my predictions, you can always rewatch this stream. Don't forget that you can donate via PayPal to this channel. As I said before, I do not get any money from YouTube or Google. I get from your donations. So don't hesitate to donate to this channel and promote boxing, a channel that really gives you insight into boxing, as well as it gives you, it truthfully, honestly gives its perspective. So you got the predictions on the fights. I'm what you need. I'm going to catch you guys later. Peace.